Now, I'll present you about the introduction of the chosen industry and company. One of the largest sectors of Malaysia's economy, the construction industry plays a big role in providing infrastructure, development, and public utilities. The industry assists in serving the different national priorities like smart cities, affordable housing, and development of transport networks. Construction, however, is linked with environmental problems like generation of waste, resource consumption, and production of high carbon footprints. Players in the industry are hence increasingly being forced to adopt sustainable methods and increase transparency through sustainability reporting. For Sunway Construction Berhad, or Suncor, a member of the Sunway Group, is Malaysia's largest pure-play construction company. Building construction, civil works, foundation mechanical and electrical works, and precast work are some of the numerous building services the corporation offers. Suncor has been well known for its work on major national projects like commercial development highways and mass rapid transit or MRT lines. As part of its long-term plan, the corporation puts significant focus on green building practices, digitalization within the construction sector, and sustainability. Now, I will present you about the Gamuda Berhad. Gamuda Berhad, one of the highly rated infrastructure and engineering firms, dominate Malaysia as well as other countries such as Australia, Singapore, and Vietnam. Motorways, railway transportation infrastructure, specifically Klang Valley MRT, water treatment plants, and smart township developments such as Gamuda Cove and Gamuda Gardens form a few among its many big projects. Gamuda is also renowned for spearheading the frontiers in green innovation, green building like digital industrialized building system, IBS, as well as environmentally preserving its nature.
Next, let's discuss about IFRS 1, which sets general requirements for disclosure of sustainability-related financial information. The purpose of IFRS 1 is to require companies to disclose sustainability issues that may affect their financial performance and long-term prospects. The four key domains include governance, strategy, risk management, and metrics and targets. This helps stakeholders assess the long-term sustainability and resilience of a company. Companies are expected to disclose how they govern sustainability risks, integrate them into their strategy, manage them, and measure their performance with clear metrics and targets.
Next, I will explain about IFRS Scope 2. It is a sustainability disclosure standard that ensures the companies provide transparent, consistent, and decision-useful information about climate-related risks and opportunities. As climate change increasingly affects businesses financially and operationally, IFRS Scope 2 helps organizations communicate how they are responding to these challenges. The standard is closely aligned with the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, which is TCFD framework, helping to provide globally consistent and comparable climate data. Under governance, company explain who is responsible for managing climate issue. Strategy shows how climate risks and opportunities are included in the business plan. Risk management covers how these risks are identified and addressed. Lastly, metric and target involve reporting data like GHG emissions and progress toward climate goals. The main goals of IFRS Scope 2 are to improve the quality of climate-related information, make it easier to compare across companies and industry, and help investors make better decisions.
Sunway Construction Group Berhad, Suncon, is the leading Malaysian construction company and subsidiary of the Sunway Group. It provides a wide range of construction services, from building construction to civil engineering, mechanical and electrical works, foundation and geotechnical engineering, and design and production of precast concrete products. Suncon has established a solid local Malaysian market, present and venture overseas with projects in Singapore, India, Myanmar, and also the United Arab Emirates. It is focused on executing large-scale infrastructure and commercial projects on the pillars of quality, safety, and also sustainability. From a financial performance perspective, Suncon achieved revenue of 2.67 billion and net profit of 145.8 million in financial year 2023. The company is well-financed with a low gearing ratio, healthy cash level, and rising order book to 7.9 billion in 2024. This includes a significant uplift from a retender data center project in Johor Bahru, having a value alone of 3.2 billion. Suncon also has consistent dividend paying policy, reflecting its stable bottom line and also shareholder return focus. Gamuda Berhad is one of the leading engineering and construction as well as property development firms in Malaysia that has been established in 1976. Gamuda has built up a very prestigious reputation in construction of giant infrastructure projects including highway, rail transit system such as the Klang Valley Mass Rapid Transit or MRT, urban water supply system and tunnel. Apart from engineering, Gamuda is also established in property development and it operates through its subsidiary Gamuda Land, which is committed to constructing sustainable and well-planned residential and commercial community. The company has also been growing its business outside whereby it's rapidly staking a claim in countries like Australia, Vietnam, Singapore, and the United Kingdom, among the many countries. Statistically based on revenue and core net profit, Gamuda achieved previous financial year 2023 result 9.1 billion revenue and 860 million core net profit. Its construction order book at end 2024 was at a record 30 billion and was sustainably built on back of strong domestic infrastructure demand as well as its successful venture into new markets such as the data center development and fast turnaround property developments. Company is financially healthy and operating strongly evidenced by stable dividend payments to shareholders, as well as the company's capital structure is well balanced with a net gearing ratio of 39%.
Next, I'll be presenting an analysis of the sustainability reporting practices of two major companies, which is Sunway Construction Berhad and Gamuda Berhad. Let's begin with governance structure. Both companies have systems in place for overseeing sustainability, but their reporting practices differ. For Sunway Constructions, the board of directors and senior management oversee ESG matters with support from a sustainability working group. Their 2024 integrated annual reports outline this effort. However, there is limited details on how frequently the board reviews sustainability issues or how this responsibility influences the decision making. While Sunway Construction does align with IFRS S1, the lack of detail on integration and consistency limits full compliance. In contrast, Gamuda Berhad shows a more comprehensive governance structure. Their ESG policy is operationalized through the Gamuda Green Plan 2025. Internal ESG committees help integrate sustainability into strategic decisions. They also report regularly at both board and senior management levels. Gamuda adopts international framework like TCFD and ISO 14001, showing strong alignment with IFRS S1. Next is strategic approach to climate issues. Both companies are aiming for net zero by year 2050, but their pathway differs. Sunway Constructions target a 40% reduction in Scope 1 and 2 emission by year 2030. Their strategy focuses on green building, renewable energy, and digital construction tools like VDC to reduce waste. A notable initiative is their involvement in an 11.8 MW solar project. However, they lack detailed climate scenario analysis and financial integrations, making their disclosures only partially aligned with IFRS S2. Gamuda, on the other hand, has a more forward-looking strategy. They aim for a 45% reduction in emission intensity by year 2030, with shorter-term targets set for year 2025. Their efforts include renewable energy projects, EV infrastructure, and a wind farm in Queensland. Importantly, they use climate scenario planning and adaptation modeling, which shows close alignment with IFRS S2. Gamuda's short-term goals and project investments again show greater alignment with global climate goals rather than Sunway Constructions. Both companies use a structured risk management framework that aligns with IFRS S1, which requires disclosure on how sustainability risks are identified and managed. Sunway Construction applies the ISO 31000-2018 standard through its enterprise risk management system. What makes their approach notable is that since 2022, they have firmly included climate-related risks, both physical and transition, into their risk register. These risks are reviewed quarterly by the Sustainability Committee, with oversight from the Board of Directors and the Group Managing Director, showing a strong governance structure. In terms of actions, physical risks like flooding are managed through practical steps such as drainage system improvements and enhanced site-level planning. For transition risks like carbon pricing or regulatory changes, Sunway Constructions adopts low-carbon materials such as green concrete and increase its use of renewable energy. For Gamuda Berhad, it also provides a strong example of risk management related to sustainability. Unlike Sunway Constructions, Gamuda aligns with both IFRS S1 and S2 by embedding environmental, social, and governance risks into the corporate risk matrix. Oversight is handled by their Risk Management Committee, which includes top leadership such as the Group Managing Director, Division Heads, and independent board members. Gamuda identifies major risks like extreme weather events, regulatory changes such as carbon pricing mechanisms, and investor pressure for more transparent ESG practice. To manage these challenges, Gamuda has introduced what they call a resilience by design strategy. This means climate adaptation is built into the early planning and design stages of construction project. They also follow the recommendations of global frameworks like the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, or TCFD. What I can conclude here is both companies use strong ERM system, with Gamuda showing better integration of climate resilience. When it comes to climate-related disclosures under IFRS S2, Sunway Construction provide a full breakdown of their greenhouse gas emissions. They report data for all three scopes, Scope 1, 2, and 3, for the financial year 2024. Scope 1, which refer to direct emissions like fuel used on site, amounted to 12,283 tons of CO2 equivalents. Scope 2, which covered emission from electricity, came to 6,729 tons. Most significantly, Scope 3 emissions, which include indirect emissions from sources such as purchased goods, employee, commuting, business travel, and waste, total 248,952 tons. They use globally recognized methods such as IPCC, DEFRA, and Malaysia's Energy Commission to calculate this emission. In addition, Sunway Construction is conducting embodied carbon assessment, especially when buying materials like steels and cement. The company has committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2050 and is already tracking its performance through digital tools and internal targets. Gamuda's reporting under IFRS S2 is also detailed and well aligned with international standards. While Scope 1 emissions aren't highlighted in the same way, Scope 2 emissions for electricity usage in their Malaysian operations were reported at 18,147 tons of CO2. More impressively, Gamuda offers one of the most detailed Scope 3 inventories among Malaysia's infrastructure firms. Their Scope 3 emissions cover categories like capital goods, business travel, downstream lease asset, and employee commuting. Depending on the project, Scope 3 emissions range from 5,709 tons to as high as 398,606 tons. To track and manage these emissions, Gamuda used digital tools for a real-time monitoring, especially for major projects like the Sydney Metro West. They also align with top reporting standards such as the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, SBTi, CDP, and GRI. From this analysis, I can say that both companies disclose full emission scope, but Gamuda's tracking and roadmap are more comprehensive. After comparing both companies, I can see that Gamuda is clearly the better performer in terms of governance, strategy alignments with climate goals, integration of risk, and reporting of metrics and targets. Their disclosure are more transparent, forward-thinking, and globally aligned, putting them ahead of Sunway Construction in sustainability reporting.
Let's now look at the profitability ratios for both companies. The source of the data can be found in Sunway's and Gamuda's financial report as shown before. As depicted in the table, Sunway's net profit margin is 5.31%, significantly outperforming Gamuda's 4.44%. This indicates that Sunway is more efficient at turning revenue into profit, which is a good sign for funding sustainability initiatives. While Gamuda's margin is lower, it still shows the company's ability to generate profit through at a slightly less efficient level. In terms of return on assets, ROA, the source of the data can be found in financial report as shown before. Sunway again outperforms Gamuda with a 5.20% ROA compared to Gamuda's 1.26%. This higher ROA indicates Sunway's better use of its asset to generate profit, enabling more capacity to invest in sustainability projects. In contrast, Gamuda's lower ROA suggests it may struggle to maximize returns from its asset, potentially limiting the funds available for sustainability investments. Next is return on equity (ROE), which the source of the data can be found in financial report as shown before. Sunway demonstrates a higher return on equity at 21.29% in contrast to Gamuda's 2.33% only. This indicates that Sunway is more efficient at generating profit from its equity, which enhance the capacity to invest in sustainability projects. On the other hand, Gamuda's lower ROE reflects a less effective utilization of its shareholder equity, potentially limiting its ability to support long-term sustainability projects. So, in conclusion, based on these ratios, Sunway Construction Berhad is more profitable, suggesting a strong position for sustainability investments. Now, let's examine the efficiency ratios, the source of the data as shown before. In terms of asset turnover, Sunway Construction Berhad leads with 0.98 times compared to Gamuda's 0.28 times. This shows that Sunway is better at generating revenue from its assets, which supports sustainability practice like resource conservation. On the other hand, Gamuda's lower ratios suggest it may face difficulties in effectively utilizing its asset, which could hinder its ability to achieve sustainable growth in the long run. Next, Sunway Berhad has a high inventory turnover of 81.42 times, reflecting strong operational efficiency and effective sustainability practices, such as waste reduction and better resource management. In comparison, Gamuda's Berhad has a lower ratio of 7.57 times, suggesting that while their inventory management is effective, there is a room for improvement in optimizing inventory processes. So, in conclusion, Sunway Construction Berhad shows higher asset turnover and inventory turnover, demonstrating better utilization of resources, which can support its sustainability initiatives.
Next, I will continue with liquidity ratio that consists of current ratio and quick ratio. The amount can be found in their financial report under SOFP for both company. As we can see, Gamuda Berhad current ratio of 2.3 means it has more than enough short-term asset to pay its short-term debts. This gives it strong financial flexibility to handle daily operation and any sudden cost, including sustainability project. The annual report also highlights Gamuda's healthy cash position and financial asset, which support this statement. Sunway Berhad current ratio of 1.08 shows it can pay its short-term debts, but with less. For quick ratio, it shows how well a company can pay short-term debts using its most liquid asset, excluding inventory. Gamuda Berhad quick ratio of 2.11 shows it has strong liquid asset like cash and receivable to cover its short-term debts without relying on inventory, which align with its ongoing investment in climate-resilient infrastructure and public transport. This makes it well prepared to handle urgent costs, including those related to sustainability. Sunway Berhad quick ratio of 1.07 also shows it can meet short-term debts, but with less extra cash available. This may limit its ability to quickly respond to unexpected sustainability-related expenses. So, in conclusion, Gamuda has stronger liquidity with a current ratio of 2.3 and quick ratio of 2.11. It has more than enough money to pay short-term debts. Sunway ratio, which 1.08 and 1.07, show it can pay its debt but with less extra. Overall, Gamuda is in a better position to handle short-term costs. Next, leverage ratio that consists of debt to equity ratio and interest coverage ratio. The amount calculated also can be found in their financial report under SOFP for both company. This ratio shows how much a company relies on debt compared to its own funds, which is equity. As we can see, Sunway Berhad high debt to equity ratio of 3.03 shows it used a lot of borrowed money, likely to support its sustainability project like green buildings and low carbon effect. This helped it grow faster but also increase their financial risks. On the other hand, Gamuda Berhad lower ratio of 0.85 means it relies more on its own fund. Gamuda also focus on sustainability, especially green infrastructure, but takes a safer approach by using less debt to fund its project. While for interest coverage ratio, it shows how easily a company can pay its loan interest using its earning. Gamuda interest coverage ratio of 0.85 means its earnings are not enough to fully cover its interest expenses, which could be a concern. In contrast, Sunway ratio of 4.02 shows it earns 4 times more than what it needs to pay in interest. This strong position allows Sunway to manage its debt comfortably. So in conclusion, Sunway Berhad is in a better position even though they use more debt but earns enough to pay interest, making it easier to fund their sustainability project. Gamuda Berhad use less debt, which is helpful, but its lower earning make it harder to cover interest and borrow for future projects.
Next is the evaluation of reporting quality. First is comprehensiveness. Sunway Construction Berhad has shown a detailed and thorough approach in reporting its environmental, social and governance or ESG aspects. The company aligns with global standards such as the GRI and TCFD frameworks. However, it could improve by adding more social metrics for a more holistic view. On the other hand, Gamuda Berhad focuses heavily on environmental concerns, especially carbon reduction and renewable energy. However, its social aspects are less comprehensiveness, with limited focus, governance, and community initiatives. Gamuda should include more data on social impact such as employee welfare and community engagement for a more complete report. Moving on to clarity, Sunway Construction Berhad excels in this area. Their sustainability reports are visually clear and well organized, using visuals and case studies to make the data easily understandable. Gamuda Berhad, while clear, can enhance its reporting by providing more context on the technical aspects of their sustainability initiatives, especially for a non-expert audience. Adding more accessible explanations can help improve understanding among a broader audience. Next, in terms of comparability, Sunway Construction Berhad follows GRI and TCFD frameworks, ensuring global comparability with established metrics. Their reporting includes historical data and sets long-term sustainability goals. However, they could improve by setting more forward-looking targets. Next, Gamuda Berhad also follows GRI and TCFD, but faces challenges in tracking Scope 3 emissions, which make their sustainability reports harder to compare with other companies. Improving their tracking of Scope 3 emissions and including more quantitative performance indicators would enhance their comparability with industry peers.
So for the evaluation of reporting quality, we move to company Sunway first. In their annual report 2024 shows stronger alignment with both IFRS Scope 1 and IFRS Scope 2. It connects wider sustainability topics like supply chain and workforce issue to its financial strategy, showing early steps towards IFRS Scope 1. While for IFRS Scope 2, it clearly explains climate risks, board oversight and climate target which meet IFRS Scope 2 requirement. The report also confirms that Sunway used multiple frameworks like GRI, SASB and TCFD to guide its reporting, which helps ensure its ESG disclosure follow well-known global standards. Next, Gamuda Berhad 2024 annual report shows that it has limited evidence of broader alignment with IFRS Scope 1, as it mostly focuses on climate and less on other sustainability risks that could impact its finances. However, for IFRS Scope 2, it has started aligning by explaining how climate risks like flooding and carbon costs could affect its business with clear governance, strategy and targets under its climate change risks and management section. The report also confirmed that Gamuda used the GRI standard and fully adopts the TCFD framework, which helps it structure climate disclosure to meet international expectations.
Now, let's move on to the challenges faced by the Sunway Construction Berhad, Suncon and Gamuda Berhad when applying the new sustainability standards IFRS S1 and S2 introduced by the International Sustainability Standards Board ISSB. These two standards are meant to make sustainability reporting more structured, clear and globally consistent, but in practices, companies still face many problems in fully adopting them. Let's look at each company in detail. For the first company, each is Sunway Construction Berhad or Suncon. For the first challenges is not enough details in ESG governance. Suncon does mention that its board and top management are responsible for the sustainability. However, the reporting lacks the important information. For example, it does not tell us how often the board discusses on ESG issues, whether sustainability is linked to the executive performance or pay, and or how ESG factors are considered in decision making or future planning. IFRS 1 clearly says that governance disclosure must show how ESG is managed at the top level. Without this detail, it is hard for the investor and stakeholder to trust the sustainability is taken seriously in the company's strategy. And for the second challenges is no use of climate scenario analysis. IFRS S2 encourage company to test different future climate situations such as rising temperature, stricter environmental laws, or carbon taxes and see how their business would perform. However, Suncon does not include this kind of analysis in its report. This is a concern, especially in the construction industry, where long-term projects are exposed to climate-related delays, flood, and rising material costs. Without this analysis, Suncon cannot show how climate risk may affect its future operations and profitability. And for the third one is Scope 3 emission not reported. Suncon reports Scope 1 and Scope 2 emission from its vehicle and electricity use, but it does not report Scope 3 emissions. Scope 3 emission come from things like subcontractors, building materials like cement and steel, waste management, and even workers commuting. In the construction sector, Scope 3 can make up more than 70% of total emissions. Not reporting this creates a big gap in transparency, and it does not meet IFRS S2 requirement, which expect full disclosure of all major greenhouse gas emissions. For the fourth challenges is ESG risk not linked to financial information. Suncon lists some ESG-related risks like higher operating costs due to new regulation or climate disaster. However, they don't explain how these risks affect the company's financial, such as revenue, profit margins, or capital standing. According to IFRS 1, company must connect sustainability risk to financial performance, but Suncon's report keeps ESG risk separate from the financial part, making it hard for the stakeholder to assess how serious these risks are to the business. And for the fifth challenges is weak data management system. Lastly, Suncon still relies heavily on manual reporting tools like Excel spreadsheets. This increases the risk of mistake, inconsistent data, or late submission. As IFRS S1 and S2 demand accurate, traceable, and timely information, this lack of digital system becomes a major weakness. In the long run, this could make it difficult for Suncon to respond quickly to reporting changes or stakeholder demands. Now, let's take a look at the challenges faced by Gamuda Berhad, another major construction player. For the first challenges is hard to combine ESG data from different countries. Gamuda operates in Malaysia, Singapore, Australia, Vietnam, and Taiwan. Each of these countries has different rules, reporting system, and ESG priorities. Because of this, it's difficult for Gamuda to collect the all sustainability data and standardize it into one clear report. But IFRS S1 requires company to provide consistent and comparable data globally. Without this, it may lead to confusion or misinterpretation by the investor or the regulators. For the second challenges is Scope 3 emissions are still difficult to track. Gamuda has started reporting some Scope 3 emissions such as employee travel or some supply chain activities, but it still struggles to track all of them, especially from the external parties like subcontractors and logistic companies. Many of these third parties are not yet ready to measure or report their emission. As a result, Gamuda often relies on industry average or estimates, which can be inaccurate. This makes the company's total emission data less reliable and affects its ability to fully comply with IFRS S2. For the third challenges is high cost and complexity of ESG system. Gamuda has invested in advanced digital system to manage ESG reporting and carbon tracking. While this is a good move, it comes with high cost and operational complexity. For the system to work well across all countries, Gamuda has to train staff, manage IT upgrades, and ensure consistent data input. This takes time and resources. IFRS S1 expects company to have strong system in place, but maintaining them at a global level is still a challenge. For the fourth challenges is overlapping standards and reporting fatigue. Gamuda follows multiple frameworks including GRI, TCFD, CDP, and ISO 14001. Now, with the addition of IFRS S1 and S2, it faces overlaps and duplication in reporting. For example, the same data might need to be reported in slightly different formats, or the same issue could be classified under different categories. This causes extra work, confusion, and what we call reporting fatigue. On top of that, Malaysia's upcoming National Sustainability Reporting Framework (NSRF) may introduce new requirements. For the fifth challenges is difficulty measuring physical climate risks at project sites. Gamuda tries to consider climate risks in project design, especially in flood zones or coastal areas, but it still struggles to conduct detailed, location-specific, and climate risk assessments. In many places, good quality climate data is missing or modeling tools are not yet available. This makes it difficult to properly assess risks like flooding, drought, or heat waves. IFRS 2 require this level of detail, so incomplete project level analysis make their risk reporting less effective.
So, for the opportunities for improvement in sustainability reporting for the Sunway construction Berhad, the first one is expand and deepen Scope 3 emission reporting. Sunway has done a fair amount of progress in aligning with IFRS S2 and staging double maturity analysis, yet the level of published reporting on Scope 3 emissions, triggered by the company due to its value change, is overarching. Through internal carbon pricing system, assist and incentive or penalty are reported, there is a lack of transparency on the emission generated by upstream and downstream logistic, use of product and end-of-life treatment. Instant definition of Scope 3 based on granularity and categories, such as 15 emission categories, in accordance to GHG protocol will give a complete picture of the entire carbon footprint of the Sunway. It is highly significant to a conglomerate that has vast property operations, construction and manufacture operation. Next is strengthen quantitative impact metrics for social and community programs. The social impact activities reported by Sunway are varied, such as urban poverty alleviations, desert monetary program, tourism, hours, and youth development grants are some of them. Yet they do not have any measure outcome that indicate long-term impact. As an example, value creation could be communicated better with metrics like the number of the household brought up above the poverty line, increases in employment rate, or access to education. The accountability and honesty of social initiative can be uplifted by integrating social return on investment models or logic models. Next, enhance stakeholder engagement, transparency, and feedback loops. Although it's talk about stakeholder engagement in maturity analysis and cross-sector partnership, the report is vague on the kind of feedback provided by each group of stakeholders and how they were used in the decision-making process. The level of credibility can be increased by including the stakeholder-specific table, which is what they said or what we did or response metrics. Moreover, implementing a two-way communication system like a community dashboard system or an ESG grievance system will indicate that it is responsive and get stakeholders to trust it more. Now we move to the opportunities for improvement in sustainability reporting for the Gamuda Berhad. The first one is broaden Scope 3 emission coverage and detail. Gamuda could be regarded as a world leader in climate reporting because it has ISO certificates and provide comprehensive disclosure on Scope 1 and Scope 2. Nonetheless, it does not report on all GHG protocol categories, five of which are not reported, despite being stronger than most of its peers. The disclosure do not also have a deep-level quantification of business line or project, since that its maturity in supply chain emission in construction and engineering. Gamuda ought to strive to cover all Scope 3 types and offer year-to-year intensity reduction strategies and also target pathway. Besides, the emission downstream and upstream, such as how the construct infrastructure will be used by the clients, should be articulated. The second one is deepen ESG risk management and scenario modeling. Gamuda has done a commendable disclosure of TCFD and SBTi framework, but it does not provide in-depth scenario analysis of climate-related financial risks and opportunities, such as regulatory carbon pricing, transition risk, and also supply chain disruption. Specifically, express monetary values on cost of climate change in contrasting warming conditions will enable resilient investors to understand long-term resilience. It will also be extremely beneficial to include climate value at risk, alignment of capex to green taxonomy and asset trending risk of some of the legacy infrastructure projects in the report. Next, disclose shortcomings, feedback, and lessons learned. In the report, there can be no surprise that Gamuda concentrate on success and successful projects, such as smart tunnel, solar farm installation, and township mining award. To present a fair and reasonable report, it is paramount to report the region or issue concerning non-achievement of targets, poor performance, performance of project, or ESG dispute. To take one example, construction delay caused by ESG failure to comply, challenge regarding Scope 3 info, or problem with biodiversity set off need to be mentioned. It would not only be a bold move to talk about what was learned as a result of these setbacks, but also express an organization culture of constant improvement.